they're taking it a step further. They're using this opportunity. The president this morning truthing out. I'm meeting with Russ Vought later today. We're going to start taking action. There's a tunnel that was under construction between New York and New Jersey. They're basically saying we're not doing that. And then even more, the Department of Energy said that they're ending billions in clean energy awards after Russ Vought posted that they're going to end these things, but he named states. Now, let me ask you this, Chris Stigall. This is like a classroom exercise. Tell me if you find a common thread through the states that Russ Vought said. He said the projects are in the following states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington State. Anything you find like a pattern in any of those states, Chris Stigall?
I don't know. What could it be? Yeah, they might all be blue, pretty blue in their pictures come election day. You know what I loved about the Russ Vought post on Truth? Sean, this was so funny. Did you notice that he called him the author or the quarterback or the head of or the face of Project 2025?
I did. And the funny part is I got like 4 texts this morning and people are like, dude, they're getting such a kick out of it. This is my point to Mary Margaret. They're like, they're now embracing Project 2025. All right, guys, it is Thursday, day 2 of the government shutdown. We are seeing some serious attempts by the Democrats to try to troll Donald Trump. And let's just say it's an abject failure. They are not good at this. I don't know who they furloughed, but they need some better folks. We've got a lot to break into with the government shutdown and so many other key issues facing the day. Big panel show ahead for you tomorrow, Dr. Robert Malone, and then next week, Eric Trump. So hit that subscribe and notification button. Before I bring in the panel, I got to tell you, you guys know I'm a snacker, and I've now upped my game. I've talked about my chips. Now I'm going full-on potato chip, guys. Vandy chips. If you haven't tried these things and you are a snacker or a potato chip lover, just say thank you now. Because as you get ready for a good Super Bowl, NFL game, Red Sox in the playoffs, hopefully, you are going to want this. And until the 90s, you guys know all of these snacks, like my favorite chips, all used to have beef tallow, and then they all went seed oil because it was cheaper, and now we see the effects of seed oil's inflammation, metabolic issues. Vandy chips have made an unbelievable chip. I'm not kidding you. When you try this thing, you are going to be blown away. I love these things, and there's only 3 ingredients in a Vandy chip: heirloom potatoes, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed tallow. I cannot get enough of these things. I mean, if there is a chip that is healthy for you, this is it. They are MAHA compliant. There's no bloat or crash like you get with regular chips. 100% American made, no shortcuts. I'm not kidding you. Give them a try. Vandy chips are the way to go. To Vandy Crisps.com, VandyCrisps.com, and use code Sean, /Sean, and use code Sean for 25% off. That's Vandy Crisps. So it's not chips, it's crisps. Okay, just like the Irish say. If you go to Ireland, they don't say, would you like some chips? They say, would you like some crisps? Well, that's it. VandyCrisp.com /Sean. Use code Sean for 25% off. And they are now available nationwide, by the way, at Sprouts Supermarket. So stop by. And I'm not kidding you. Get the variety pack because it's not just the regular chips. They've got so many good flavors. I love them all. Before I get into the panel, though, I got to tell you about a great buddy of mine. If you've been watching the show forever, you know about my friend Leo Grillo. He started Delta Rescue after just one dog that he rescued named Delta, and he named it because it was dedication, everlasting love for animals. He now grew that into Delta Rescue. Go to deltarescue.org. Check out the amazing work they're doing. When Leo and I first met and I started telling him about how I rescued dogs, he's like, yes, I don't rescue dogs. I have the world's largest no-kill sanctuary. And it really is. If you check out the videos at deltarescue.org, you see what I'm talking about. Dogs, cats, horses, you name it. They take abandoned, abused, malnutrition, you name it, animals, and care for them for life. But there's no Politico Pro subscriptions, USAID grants. It's all contributions from people like me and you. And I'm not just asking you to make a contribution. I made one myself because I love the work that Leo Grillo has done at Delta Rescue. So go to deltarescue.org, make a personal donation. And if you're so moved by the great, amazing work they're doing, go to the estate planning kit and think about making Delta Rescue part of your estate planning, maybe a 401k or an old stock, you probably get some kind of tax benefit in the short term. Talk to your estate planner. But I'm telling you, this isn't a mission that I want to see as an enduring one for generations to come. Visit deltarescue.org. All right, without further ado, I want to bring in our Philadelphia correspondent, the leader of the Chris Stigall Show, Mr. Chris Stigall on the Salem Radio Network, our good friend at the National Review, Miss Caroline Downey, and from the Daily Wire, also our Catholic correspondent, I think, for the day, Mary Margaret Olohan. Good to see you all. Mary Margaret, I want to start with you. You're in the White House day in and day out. Just give me a sense of the feeling of White House staff and senior officials. Are they empowered? Do they feel good about where we are day 2 of this government shutdown?
Well, Sean, it's an interesting question because on the one hand, they're railing against Democrats for causing this shutdown, and they're accusing them across the board of being the source of a lot of these problems that Americans are now facing. You know, we have all of our troops are not being paid right now. We have so many government employees furloughed and maybe people even being laid off. But at the same time, you see all of these Trump administration, comms people, staffers posting about all of these issues with the Democrats and posting about these sombreros and making all these jokes and pointing out, that Democrats are being incredibly unsuccessful in their messaging on this shutdown. So I'd say at the end of the day, the tone over there is tense, but also a little bit celebratory. You know, they're really proud of how they're messaging on this and showing that Democrats have nothing to stand on here. And I think a lot of these Democrats are aware of this as well. So it's a very, very high teeter-totter for the White House right now, and things are looking good for them.
Caroline, the reason I asked Mary Margaret that question was, according to the pool report yesterday, so when you walk into the White House briefing room, they've got screens and they were playing on the screens the Trump sombrero ad. They've gone after all these government websites saying because the Democrats, they're going on offense messaging wise. They're using the tools. Caroline Downey even changed the voicemail when you call the White House. Instead of just saying, hey, thanks for the White, please leave a message for the president, whatever, it says, due to the government shutdown. This is Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. I mean, they are like happy warriors in this fight.
Yeah, I think they're capitalizing on what is unquestionably a win for them. And Chuck Schumer, in the days leading up to the government shutdown, we know he was trying to save face, right? Because he's still getting flack for when he helped Senate Republicans in March clear that filibuster. He knows that his days are numbered because the activist fringe of the progressives in the Democratic Party want to take him down and all the other elders. So he felt like he had no choice but to stay and fight. But as a result, the vast majority of the American people, I think, will blame the Democrats for this shutdown. And that was what the polling suggested leading up to it. And all over what? What were their objections? Modest Medicaid reform. They were protesting the idea that those who would be eligible for Medicaid should have their addresses verified to make sure that they're not illegal aliens who are getting covered. Or if you're an able-bodied person who wants to be eligible for Medicaid, you should probably be doing part-time work. That seems like a very common sense prerequisite, right? But this is what the Democrats were so vehemently opposing, and I think the American people are going to blame them. Shutdowns are a lose-lose, but it's clear that they're the ones who caused this because they rejected a clean bill. And it was a clean bill. It was the Biden administration's levels of spending. That is what they decided to tank at the 11th hour.
Chris Stigall, it's not even that. They're taking it a step further. They're using this opportunity. The president this morning truthing out. I'm meeting with Russ Vought later today. We're going to start taking action. There's a tunnel that was under construction between New York and New Jersey. They're basically saying we're not doing that. And then even more, the Department of Energy said that they're ending billions in clean energy awards after Russ Vought posted that they're going to end these things, but he named states. Now, let me ask you this, Chris Stigall. This is like a classroom exercise. Tell me if you find a common thread through the states that Russ Vought said. He said the projects are in the following states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington State. Anything you find like a pattern in any of those states, Chris Stigall?
I don't know. What could it be? Yeah, they might all be blue, pretty blue in their pictures come election day. You know what I loved about the Russ Vought post on Truth? Sean, this was so funny. Did you notice that he called him the author or the quarterback or the head of or the face of Project 2025?
I did. And the funny part is I got like 4 texts this morning and people are like, dude, they're getting such a kick out of it. This is my point to Mary Margaret. They're like, they're now embracing Project 2025.
It's wonderful because as you remember, they were tripping all over themselves to run from the thing. Oh, we don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. Now they're just calling it out. And I think it's brilliant because they're basically saying, you Democrats have opened Pandora's box and now you're giving the author of the vaunted Project 2025 keys to the kingdom. I think it's great. It's completely blocked the Democrats in either direction. They really, now it looks like they've got to continue to fight obstinately, but because Project 2025 is underway. But at the same time, if they don't get this done, they're going to be blamed, as Caroline pointed out, for the shutdown because of this illegal alien Medicaid funding business, which is a loser for them too. This messaging is this is the kind of thing I would imagine as former White House press secretary, you couldn't pay for it. There's an organized messaging from the White House I've never seen. I'm dazzled by it, as a matter of fact.
Well, Mary Margaret, let's pick up on that because it's not just what they're shutting down. Russ Vought's going out there and like I was joking last night to a group of people. I think Russ literally probably wrote his 8th grade paper on if the government ever shut down and I was in charge, what could I do? Like, he's been dying for this moment his whole life. And he's finally like, I feel like it's like Smithers. Was it Smithers in The Simpsons? He's like,
Mr. Burns. Yeah.
Mr. Burns. What will I do? Well, Caroline, here's the cool thing. They're not just doing, they know the trip points. They're keeping national parks open. They announced they're keeping the Statue of Liberty open. They're basically saying we're going to cause Democrats pain, but we're going to make sure that it's not inflicted on the average American in places and things they do. It's just, to Chris's thing, they're playing checkers. And this is not what we did the first term. Like, I am so impressed with the thought and the process behind this. The trolling, let's go after Democrats. Let's make sure we take off the Statue of Liberty. Like, we don't want people being like, oh my God, I can't have my class trip.
Yeah, and Republicans are playing chess, to your point. And the thing is, Democrats knew they were playing with fire when they were just trying to basically reject this clean bill, and that would propel us toward a government shutdown. They knew that that would give Trump discretionary power to start slashing rolls. That's what happens. This was not some secret, but they got exactly what they planned on because of they were throwing a tantrum over something that was a nothing burger. It sort of should have been a mere matter of housekeeping to extend government funding to keep it afloat for another 7 weeks. That should have been just another long, okay, we're just checking off business, but instead they decided to make it an opportunity to pass sweeping entitlement expansion. You guys are in the losing party. Read the room.
Well, Mary Margaret, the thing is, you're there at the White House. You see their messaging. I honestly can't find a serious Dem right now that's leading the effort. There's no one leading their messaging. It's a failure from Capitol Hill. Chuck Schumer looks out of date. The other day, he's like, we will be taking the message to abacuses and Palm Pilots. And I mean, you're probably like, I don't even know what that is. That's the point. Like, Chuck Schumer is talking about outdated means of communication and acting indignant. There's no 2028er that's grabbed the mantle of the message on how to fight back. Like, these guys look rudderless and leaderless on the left. I want to go into the healthcare piece in a minute, but there's no one as an individual on the left that has stood up and been, I am the leader of the messaging opposition.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. And I actually asked Caroline Leavitt about this yesterday at the White House press briefing because Vice President Vance said in his opening remarks at the press briefing that Chuck Schumer is catering to the man specifically of Ocasio-Cortez. And he singled her out, which I thought was very interesting because literally that day we saw Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers get confronted by reporters in the Capitol and asked about Ocasio-Cortez, who told Republicans, come talk to me if you have things you want to change. Come talk to me as kind of like the negotiator of the Democratic Party. I found that really interesting. And I asked Leavitt, like, is she now the de facto leader of the Democratic Party? Is that how people view her? Would the vice president be negotiating with her if he's negotiating with the leadership of the Democratic Party? She didn't really address that. She thought it was kind of funny. But she pointed out they are open to negotiating with Democrats, but the Democrats are not really open to negotiating with them. And I think we've really seen AOC and I would say Bernie Sanders a little bit pushing them themselves out there as the leaders right now, as the ones that the rest of the Democrats are beholden to. And I think the rest of the country knows it as well. So if anyone is a front runner per se, it would be them. But specifically Ocasio-Cortez, who thinks somehow that they're coming out on top of all this.
Well, boy, Sean, I know you probably saw Nancy Pelosi and her nasty reaction to that when she was asked. Quit asking me about her. She's fine. She's nice. I like her and everything. But no, Hakeem Jeffries is in charge. If you have to scold the press and say, hey, quit asking me about the one you're interested in. Hakeem Jeffries is the one we're interested in. If you have to tell the press he's in charge, I'm still in charge, but still try to kind of placate, they're scared to death of her. And she is irritated as she can be with this woman, but she is the future, AOC is, and Nancy Pelosi knows it. So she's trying her best to block and tackle for Hakeem Jeffries, but it's not working. I mean, he's meme-tastic now. It's over for him.
No, and that's the thing, Caroline, is that like AOC and Bernie put out this video walking and talking. I still think it's kind of cringy, but it's actually the best that anybody on the Dem side has done messaging-wise. And I get Mary Margaret's point that if you're a reporter, you look and go, she seems to be doing more on the messaging front and leading the effort than you guys are.
Yeah, no, I think Nancy Pelosi is still the kingmaker. No one denies that she's actually extremely good at what she does, even from behind the scenes, even from backstage. She's like a puppeteer. She pulls a lot of strings, and it's honestly very impressive. I will have to say, it's just for the wrong agenda, the completely wrong agenda. If only, in years past, Republicans had that kind of figure. But Chuck Schumer is the one who I think is extremely vulnerable going into this next election cycle, because AOC has singled him out also specifically and said he's what's wrong with the Democratic Party. He's what's wrong with our power structure. He's the old, it's amazing. He's the old school Democrat now, trying to advocate for what, reasonable government, proceedings look like, which means compromise. It means bipartisanship. It means somewhat trying to work with Republicans. But he knows that if he didn't stop this clean bill, I think, AOC, Hakeem Jeffries, the squad, that would be it. They would say, Chuck Schumer has to go now because he can't stand up to the Trump administration. So watching this battle royale play out in the Democratic Party is fascinating. And safe to say that, Trump, he's still on top.
All right, before I get into the Dem messaging, because I find it fascinating what's going on there, I want to ask each of you guys a question. I'll give you three options. You can give me a fourth if you can think of it. Does AOC run for the House again? Does she primary Chuck Schumer, or does she run for president? Caroline, I'll start with you.
I think she primaries Chuck Schumer.
Okay. And by doing that, do you think that means she then can't run for president, right?
That's a good question. I mean, I think those are her ambitions, very much to run for president. I think she's still a little too green for that, too young for that. And I think she still, as fiery and charismatic as she is, she's channeling the Mom Downey vibe, which we still don't know will perform in New York City. I think sadly it will, because the crowded field got smaller, but too little, too late.
Oh yeah, he's mayor. By the way, he's mayor.
Yeah. I'm trying to stay sanguine here, because I live here. I have to live in this hell. Hoboken is looking lovely this time.
You may get a Republican governor in New Jersey, so Hoboken could be the way to go. I'm just saying.
100%.
Go over the bridge.
100%.
Right. Mary Margaret, you can add to my three and give me a fourth if you want, but where do you think AOC lands?
Well, I'll give you a fourth then, because the reporter in me doesn't want to fully land on any of them. But what I would say is that she's going to watch how this goes. And if it goes a certain way, I could see her primarying Chuck Schumer. But I also think that part of her is desperate to go up against J.D. Vance in a national election. I think she views herself as his millennial counterpart, and she would love nothing better than to be sharing a debate stage with him and accusing him of hating women and all these things. So I think she's biding her time. I think she's going to watch this very closely, and I think most Democrat strategists are watching it very closely as well.
All right, Stigall, settle it for us.
I'm going to offer a possibility that she enjoys so much being the king and queen maker. She enjoys raising the money she raises, and she raises a ton of it. I could see her as the new face of the Democrat Party.
Meaning what? She runs for DNC chair?
Maybe she runs the whole party.
Oh,
Maybe she'd rather that.
I see. I think that. I mean, I don't think she's a particularly smart person, but that may be the dumbest move she could. I mean, being the party chair, unelected party chair, I'm not sure is a smart move. You end up with all the headaches and none of the upside.
Yeah.
Also,
her fundraising ability is unmatched. That's the reason I think.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move.
I was just going to say she has one of the lowest approval ratings in Congress. So.
Right. All right. I want to move to the Dem messaging. Speaker Johnson talked about what went on in that Oval Office meeting and him sort of confronting Chuck Schumer. Let me play you what he said Chuck Schumer laid out as the case that they are fighting for. Take a look.
Chuck Schumer was in the Oval Office with me, 48 hours ago. We were there. The president, as a strong leader, he brought all of us in, all four leaders, Thune and Schumer and myself and Hakeem Jeffries. And the president said, make your case. What is it you want? And Chuck Schumer repeated in that meeting what he put on paper. The counter proposal that he filed, everyone can go read it for themselves, would add $1.5 trillion in new spending on a 7-week stopgap measure. We're not doing that. He wants to give health care to illegal aliens again. We're not doing that. He wanted to claw back $50 billion that our Republican Big Beautiful Bill put in to prop up rural hospitals. Now, people say, why would he do that? I thought he was for health care. Well, a lot of those rural hospitals, most of them are in red states. So I don't know. I don't know what his motivation is, but we can't do it.
All right. Chris, before I ask you about the messaging, I do want to say one quick thing about one of our sponsors. This morning, there was this accident at a New York airport between two planes. Air traffic control is out of control. You guys know that, not just in terms of safety, but cancellations and delays. Fortunately, President Trump, as part of the Big Beautiful Bill, added billions of dollars to upgrade our massively outdated air traffic control system. And I think we can all agree, no matter where you stand, that it's time for new technology to get us safer, more on time, et cetera. There's a company called Peraton, Peraton, that has 3 things we need to address this problem, to modernize air traffic control. They've got the people, the technology, and the innovation. And the thing about Peraton is that they're already working throughout our national security apparatus, the Department of Defense, NASA, to innovate, to make things better, to meet our national security challenges head on. It's a great company already working throughout government. This could be a massive upgrade to our air traffic control systems at a time when we clearly see the challenges that we face, both in terms of accidents, on-time arrival, delays, cancellations. Peraton is ready to provide America with the upgraded air traffic control systems that we need, that are safer and more reliable. Go to Peraton, Peraton.com/ATC to learn more. That's Peraton.com/ATC. All right, Chris Stigall, the big debate there that Johnson lays out is the Democrats are saying, we don't want the government to stay funded for a few more weeks because we want a deal on health care. The Republicans, as Johnson laid out, are saying, yeah, but you're fighting for healthcare for illegals. You're actually changing and undoing the bill. Do you think they're winning that argument?
Meaning, are the Republicans winning
Yeah.
it? Yes. Unequivocally, yes. It's easy to understand. That's what I like so much about this messaging. It's not complex. It's easy. And every time Democrats are pressed, I mean, what's so clear about it is it's so clear that you've got Jake Tapper and others in kind of the traditional media set. They're forced to kind of specify when talking to Democrats, is this really what you're trying to do? And they say, no, that's a lie. And then Jake Tapper was forced to admit, well, you did go in and add this provision, and all they want to do is just pass it as is. So why add the provision? They have no choice but to explain why they monkeyed with something that the Republicans just wanted to pass as is. It's so basic and simple. Kudos again to the Republicans for making this really streamlined and clear for the American people to understand.
So the thing about it, Mary Margaret, is to Chris's point, just so everyone gets this, the Republican bill says we'll keep the government open for 7 weeks. Funding levels and policies stay absolutely the same for 7 weeks while we negotiate the rest of the fiscal year. What Jake Tapper was forced to admit is that they are changing the law to allow anybody in the country to get health care. Now, if you're anybody that's in the country that's not a citizen, then you would qualify. And Tapper even says in this interview, well, then who are you fighting for? And they had to admit it. And that's the thing, is that the media up until yesterday, I think, was like, it's illegal to get benefits, just like it's illegal to be in this country and hold the job as the Iowa superintendent and have a loaded gun and vote in Maryland. But apparently he did all three. So their argument is it's illegal to do that, and yet Democrats want to change the law. They're admitting it now. Ro Khanna literally said it's only about 90% of. He said no, not the only. He said it's about 90% that will be American. In other words, yeah, we'll let 10% of non-Americans get the deal. That's what we're fighting for.
Right. It's been fascinating all week to see how these media have handled this. And look, I'm with legacy media all day long, every day. I pay a lot of attention to what they say because they're my peers, they're my colleagues. I'm surrounded by them every day. And I have just been texting my boss and my colleagues over and over saying they're saying the same things, because what they do is they harp on the fact that supposedly, no, you can't do this under the federal law. Illegals can't get health care. And yet that's been happening. And that is what we took action against most recently. And so now that they're slowly figuring out that that is the case, now they're playing semantics with who can get what and how much and how little. And frankly, it's embarrassing. And you see this over and over, especially on CNN, how these hosts and these commentators are harping on very specific things with lawmakers, with Mike Johnson, trying to get them to concede in some small little way. And then they can pounce and frame it a certain way and pretend that they have captured them, when at the end of the day, no, the facts remain the same. Democrats are pushing for healthcare for illegals, and that's what's going on in this situation. And they can't really get around it anymore. So I'm interested to see in the next few days how this conversation evolves, because once people like Caitlin Collins realize they can't gotcha Republicans on this anymore, they're going to have to change course.
Caroline, the thing that's so funny is that the media wants to tell you this isn't true. It's illegal, whatever. And then people online, Alex Pfeiffer posted, hey, Chuck Schumer's own state advertises that it has an insurance program through Medicaid that gives health care to illegals. It literally advertises. Rick Cornell posted the same thing's true in California. These are on their websites. It says if you're an undocumented immigrant, here's how you get government benefits. So the media and the left might want to argue it's illegal, but their own states then say, here's how you do it. They know it's true. Ro Khanna's telling people it's true. It's only 10% that's illegal. Okay, how many billions of dollars is that? Like, the funny part about it is that we're being gaslit all over again. The Hunter Biden laptop doesn't matter. It's Russian disinformation. Illegals can't get health care, except here's how you do it.
Yeah, it's not happening, but actually it's good that it's happening, and you're the bad person because you noticed that it's happening. And it's like, Democrats are comically transparent actually these days about the fact that they really do want to serve non-citizens over the American people. But it wasn't even that dramatic. What was being proposed was common sense guardrails to make sure that Medicaid wouldn't go to illegal aliens by verifying their addresses. It reminded me actually of how E-Verify, with regards to the labor force, would check to make sure that employers weren't hiring illegal aliens. These are just guardrails to make sure that it's going to the right eligible recipients who are Americans. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the general Affordable Care Act expansion that Democrats wanted. They wanted to restore public broadcasting funding that the Trump administration had slashed. So they wanted to bring back, presumably, NPR. They're getting bankrolled, even though they do not represent the vast majority of the taxpayers and are grossly progressive and have engaged in radicalism over the years. So they just want to bring back things that are not popular and that the American people don't want. And I think they're going to suffer for it politically in the coming years.
Mary Margaret, the thing that's so funny, we talk about how the Republicans are messaging, how the White House is feeling. The Democrats literally couldn't screw this up more, though, not just in terms of hitching their wagon to health care, and which is now getting, the longer the debate goes on, it's almost like you have to cover it. Like the Dem media at a certain point was like, oh gosh, these guys are right. They've got the receipts. We can't just cover for them like we normally do. Politico wrote a story that said this blew my mind. Politico. So it's sort of like, I think Politico has said, okay, NPR got its federal funding cut. We'll pick up the slack. We'll help them. But so that just gives you an idea. It's basically an extension of the DNC. And it wrote this story. Gen Z is in the House and other cringe moments in the Democrats' shutdown marathon. Democrats promised to live stream the shutdown till the bitter end. We watched, so you don't have to. And it says, this is the reporter. He says, I binged more than 14 hours of the occasionally awkward, repetitive, if mostly on message programming on YouTube. Does your editor not like you? A House Democratic campaign official texted me. And they're talking about the fact that, like, no one's even watching it. It's horrible, it's cringy, and no one's watching it. That's how they're trying to. I feel like, I honestly feel bad. Like, I feel like we need to send them some help.
I know. And honestly, I did feel for the reporter that was covering this, but at the same time, I feel like that must have been a little bit entertaining. I mean, the reporter from Politico who was writing this story was noting that I think at one point there were 156 viewers watching. At one point, the reporter noted there were dozens of viewers on the live stream. And the White House press team, you can tell from social media that they were all very dialed in to this story because they were all tweeting different parts of it and laughing. I think specifically some of their tweets just said, ha, 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 because they were so amused by this Politico piece. And I think it says a lot that, you know, this is an outlet that I would definitely argue leans to the left. I think most people can very obviously see that. But it's very critically covering this Democrat live stream and showing that this is embarrassing. This is not something that the Democrats are going to be proud of, not something that they're going to be touting. In fact, a lot of them were probably talking about it last night and were furious at the optics of it. And so across the board, that's what Americans are seeing. And you do have to wonder, you know, like, this is one of those things that we care about so much. There are Americans who might not really be aware of what's going on unless it's touching their lives. But what they are going to see is how this messaging gets out to them, you know, from the Democrats, from Republicans. And when they're hearing from the White House so vigorously, the Democrats are purposefully trying to cause them harm. And when they're seeing from Democrats all this outrage over sombreros and things like that, that is not a good ultimate picture to the American people. And I think everyone in politics right now knows that.
So before I move on, though, Chris, I will say ABC has been just getting busted. I mean, Jonathan Karl last week saying that Charlie Kirk's assassin wasn't politically motivated. Matt Gutman, the other so-called reporter, saying that it was a very touching, the exchange between the assassin and his trans lover. And then Mary Bruce, the White House reporter, they literally posted a card that shows the question she was asking Biden and the answer he gives, like how staged this thing was. It's funny. I felt bad when she asked a question of JD Vance this weekend, or I guess it was yesterday at the presser. JD didn't get any advance notice. I thought he killed it, by the way. But then I want to show you, like, Stephanopoulos. Like, he was like, I want to get in on this. Stephanopoulos has Mike Johnson on his show, and just watch, like, he went full, like, I'm going to be a DNC operative again. Take a look at the exchange he has with Mike Johnson.
Here are facts. Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies. No. Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
It does, actually, because what it does is it unwinds the changes that Republicans put into the big, beautiful bill, the big signature legislation that we passed and signed into law on July 4th. That has been very successful in shoring up Medicaid for the people who are actually eligible to receive it. What we did in the bill, and the CBO just verified this 3 weeks ago, the Congressional Budget Office, the nonpartisan arbiters of everything up here, they said that those provisions have helped to reduce premiums. Why? Because we got ineligible recipients off of Medicaid, illegal aliens, and able-bodied young men who are riding the wagon who are not eligible to be there. Medicaid is intended for specific populations of U.S. citizens. That is, young, pregnant women who are down on their luck, the disabled and the elderly. Those resources are being drained from those folks, and so we fixed that. We reduced fraud, waste, and abuse in the program. Chuck Schumer's counterproposal on the CR would reverse that. That is a simple fact.
The CBO did not say that about illegal immigrants. You've made your point, right?
It's like, look, you made your point. I got to move on, Chris Stigall. But I mean, it is unbelievable. ABC is like literally saying they want to rebrand MSABC.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget the ladies over on The View and Jimmy Kimmel at night. So, I mean, it's sun up to sundown. That network has gone full tilt bananas, and they're having a hard time. Well, look, poor George and ABC, you know, they helped build a wing of that new Miami library of President Trump's. So yeah. I mean, and YouTube's now contributing to it. CBS, I think, is going to contribute to it. By the time Trump's done, I think legacy media may build the entire Trump library in Miami.
Well, by the way, YouTube, $24 million, and 22 of it's going to build the ballroom at the White House. But it is amazing. Like these guys are all just caving for serious dollars.
Yeah, and it's and the supposed attack on free speech is all, they're all martyrs now for free speech, right? Jimmy Kimmel and the rest, they come riding in and saying they're terrified about free speech. Not so much when they're in charge, and as you point out, from the Hunter Biden laptop to COVID and the shot or anything else, we weren't allowed to speak about any of that. Protest outside an abortion clinic or protest at a student council or a parents' school board meeting, and you may be surveilled by the FBI. But that's not censorship. That's not a freedom of speech issue. Jimmy Kimmel being spanked for a couple of nights. Now free speech is under attack. It's pretty amusing.
By the way, one thing that I keep trying to remind people about the Kimmel thing is he still has not apologized, number one. And when you actually look at the statement from Disney, they said that Kimmel's statement was ill-timed. They didn't say it was wrong. They didn't say it was misinformation. They said it was ill-timed, meaning if Kimmel had lied a week later, it would have been completely fine. But don't lie and spread misinformation within days of an assassin killing Charlie Kirk. You can do that later. But it's, again, we aren't ever really getting the full story. But we've talked about the Dem response, Caroline. And there's a story an op-ed in this morning's Wall Street Journal where I will give at least one person credit, and it's Rahm Emanuel. And it's amazing because this is what he wrote in the Wall Street Journal. The latest education data is devastating. American students are performing worse in math and reading than a generation ago. Instead of confronting this crisis, Washington is silent. We, and I think he means the Dems, have let the national debate get hijacked by distractions, bathrooms, pronouns, and school names, while ignoring the fact that too many kids don't know what a pronoun is. We've lost the plot. If Democrats want to reclaim their historic advantage on education, we need to lead with solutions. To me, I'm like, this dude will never get elected because he's actually saying things that make sense.
Yeah, no, he's going to be a pariah to the party, I think, in the coming years because, frankly, he's exposing the fact that the government-run school system, which is progressive funded via the teachers' unions, has led to a absolutely dumb student population. Kids are struggling in academics largely because of Democratic leadership. It's just a fact. We saw it over COVID. The learning loss was astounding, most of all among minority children. They're the ones who were, because they were locked out of the classroom, they actually scored worse than their counterparts who were not, African American. And so the Democrats have that on their hands still to face. But I don't think there really still hasn't been a reckoning for that from the Democratic Party, although you could argue that Trump winning in 2024, I think there were a lot of old school liberals, kind of like Rahm Emanuel, who started to realize that their children, the future generation of this country, were in terrible shape as a result of these draconian policies during the pandemic and just utter mismanagement. They were sacrificed. The children were sacrificed, and I think a lot of Republicans were born as a result of the education issue. Parents were finally seeing what their kids were learning when they brought their Zoom screens home. And it wasn't arithmetic and phonics and the building blocks of reading. It was radical ideology and kind of other BS ideas like social emotional learning, which is like this idea that kids somehow learn how to read and literacy by seeing themselves represented in the reading material rather than like sounding out the words. I could go on for days about the lunacy here, but Rahm Emanuel, I have to give him kudos for being courageous.
Yeah, Margaret, the thing is, I don't think the Democratic Party wants to hear this. They don't want, he's right. Most kids don't know what a pronoun is, but they know their pronouns.
Exactly. And I think, Caroline, I totally agree. I know Caroline and I have both covered this education crisis extensively, all these culture wars that really culminated in Governor Glenn Youngkin's election in Virginia. We saw the Loudoun County scandal there where the school board covered up the fact that a girl had been assaulted by a skirt-wearing boy in the bathroom, and that really launched an avalanche of parental rights concerns that ended up with a Republican, Glenn Youngkin, becoming governor. And so all over the country now, there's an awareness, at least on the right, that Americans don't want this kind of radical gender ideology, radical critical race theory, radical woke ideology in schools, you name it. Trump saw that, he harnessed it in the election, and he won because of it. And he talks about it all the time. Americans are done with that. It's crazy. It's weird. He's been really good at talking about how nonsensical all of this is. But weirdly enough, on the left, you really don't see people learning their lesson. I mean, during the election, you saw a couple Democrats denounce men and women's sports and things like that. But you got Abigail Spanberger in Virginia right now. She's refusing to say that she doesn't want men in women's spaces. And we literally have a sexual predator who's been in women's bathrooms and restrooms, and she won't say that she wants to distance herself from that. So they're still really beholden to this radical left contingent of the party. And I think Republicans are like, go at it, have at it. We want you to continue supporting these crazy things because it means that they're still going to win. And until they learn their lesson there, I think more and more people are going to join the Republican Party and vote against them.
And, to Mary Margaret's point, I just read today, this is stunning to me, and I think it's going to keep this conversation alive. We know that the Charlie Kirk assassin was motivated by this trans issue. And unbelievably, I hear in court now, the parents of the would-be assassin of Justice Kavanaugh are suggesting that it's his transgender ideology that motivated him to do that, and they're asking for leniency in his sentencing because he was in the closet at the time, and now he's being called Sophie in treatment or whatever, and it's his trans ideology that caused him to do what he did. So I'm going to watch that with fascination. Is that now going to be a reason, an excuse to commit heinous crimes? And if so, then is that not exactly what we're battling against? Is that not what President Trump and Republicans are calling out, that this is a mental illness that must be dealt with, not something that should be embraced by a political party? Well,
you remember when when one of the other shootings happened on CNN, Seb Gorka brought that up. I think it was based on the Catholic school in Minnesota, and he was told, "Why are you?" The CNN host said, "Why are you bringing this up?" And he said, "Why wouldn't we? It's fair to discuss if this is part of the problem." They don't want that to be part of the problem. So to your point, Chris, I'm going to definitely, I agree with you. I want to keep an eye on whether this becomes a defense, because the media hates the idea that trans will somehow be a defense. I'm going through transition. I can't talk about it. And by the way, you guys remember, as Mary Margaret was talking, I kept thinking to myself, you remember the most powerful ad I think Trump put on was, he stands for you, not they, them. And I think that we need to embrace, we stand for students knowing what pronouns are, not having their pronouns or something like that. I'll workshop that. I want to get to winners and losers, though. Because there's a lot this week, and I want to get to it. Mary Margaret, I'll start with you. Let's go around the horn. Just start with winners. Who do you think won the week?
I would say Vice President Vance. He's really taken the lead on all the messaging throughout this shutdown. He's the shutdown go-to guy, and he's been doing an excellent job. He's been on every media show ever, including the Ben Shapiro show, which we were very proud to have him on yesterday. And he's slaying, as the kids would say.
Okay. Chris Stigall, who do you got?
I'm going to go a little outside the box here and go with Rick Grenell running the Kennedy Center. For the first time in my life, I went there to visit and saw
that on Instagram.
A wholesome presentation of The Sound of Music. They are now in the black already after being 30 million in the red in short order. It's a place where you just feel good. It feels all good and American to go attend the Kennedy Center. So I commend it to anybody watching. If you haven't done it, go see it. It's great.
Yeah, I saw The Sound of Music. It was very beautiful. They did a fabulous job, and I love Rick's leadership there, and his whole team, by the way. It's not just him. Taylor and Roma, they're awesome. He's got a great team, and they're showing what leadership can do. Caroline, who do you think won?
I think it's this week, J.K. Rowling for saying to Emma Watson, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't put a target on my back, for being a very brave critic of transgenderism and male predation in women's spaces, and then pretend like I'm your mother who you still love and respect and want to rekindle a relationship with.
Is that so? That I didn't even know that's her daughter. Yeah.
No. I'm saying that Emma Watson, the Harry Potter actress, basically tried to extend an olive branch during the podcast. It kind of went viral on Twitter. And
see, this is how out of the loop I am. I know Sound of Music. Stigall and I can talk about music.
I knew this too. Yeah.
The Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling basically said, you can't just like come back into my life after you demonized me for saying that men are men or women are women. So.
All right. I think the winner of the week, and this is, I'm going to say this. There were a couple of issues, and I've got to be careful I don't get struck by lightning. I was disappointed to hear the Pope defend Dick Durbin because he supports abortion and then go and pray over a bunch of ice. But I will say, I think the winner of the week right now is the Rosary. He has made praying the Rosary in the month of October a priority. So I will focus on the positive. Mary Margaret, who do you think lost the week?
Well, I'd have to say that would be Hakeem Jeffries and the sombreros, and just because of all the drama that has ensued and his insistence that the sombrero was racist. And it really has become, I think, the symbol of the shutdown, and we're not going to stop hearing about it. So I do feel badly for him. I think that he will be continuing to wear sombreros for quite some time.
I don't feel bad for him. Chris Stigall, how about yourself?
I don't think you can deny. Mary Margaret is exactly right. It's got to be Hakeem Jeffries. You open up X and every other post is some new AI generated meme of Hakeem Jeffries in some various state of Mexican garb. It's hilarious.
All right, Caroline Downey, you sticking with that or you got one of your own?
I think just Chuck Schumer, sort of akin to that, but he's floundering. He knows that I think his time is limited, his political career. He's crashing out, as Gen Z says.
All right, I'm going to take what you guys have said to another level. I think social media on the left, on the Dems, was the big loser. And I'm going to start with what you guys all referred to. I want to show you guys Jeffries mocked Trump, as Mary Margaret said, for wearing a sombrero, and then tried to come back. Now, I will say this. This clearly proves that the Cracker Barrel marketing team is now aligned and working with Hakeem Jeffries. This is what he came up with afterwards.
The president's been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer.
I saw
recently. You've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful just post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even, poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop.
Okay, now that's bad enough, and you guys are right. I mean, that literally shows you what the Cracker Barrel marketing team is now doing with their time. But it got worse because the Democratic National Committee decided to get in on the meme game, and this is what they did.
Republican and Democrat kiddies cannot agree on what should be funded. Democrat kiddies want you to have health care. Republican kiddies do not. Republican kiddies control the Senate, House, and the White House, so they're using that to cut your health care and give money to billionaires. Democrat kitty tries to negotiate, but Republican kitty keeps running away. He has a vacation to get to. Uh-oh, suddenly the money you pay for your health insurance has tripled. Thanks, Republicans.
Okay, that is not a joke. That is from the Democratic National Committee. Ken Martin, the chairman, put that out. That's literally, they want people to see that and to think that that's a good idea. So I would argue that social media on the left is the big loser too. I'm embarrassed for them.
Didn't they freak out once that J.D. Vance called them a bunch of cat ladies? Now they seem to be embracing it, I guess.
That's a good one. I thought that's a good point. By the way, I think someone from the Daily Wire needs to help them. I'm going to talk to Shapiro. See if they you guys do a great job with somebody's got to help them. This is so embarrassing. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you being with us. Thanks so much. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, Dr. Robert Malone, King of Maha, he's going to break it all down with us. And then next week, Eric Trump. I've always got some great newsletter content at SeanSpicer.com, so please sign up. Thank you guys for being here. We'll enter day 3 of the shutdown tomorrow with you. We'll see you back here then. Take care. Have a good night. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.